Hey guys, what's going on? I have podcast episode 3 here today for you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Friday. So what I want to talk about today is divination as a tool. And I want to start touching on basically what divination can do for you, how it should be used, how it shouldn't be used, and just patterns that I've seen. Just a couple different things I want to talk about here. So one of the main reasons why I wanted to talk about this particular subject is because throughout my time on YouTube and just being a part of the spiritual community, right? Like I've noticed that there are a lot of people that use tarot for the wrong reasons. They use divination for the wrong reasons. I've noticed a lot of readers like to keep their audience engaged and almost obsessed and addicted to the point that they will post every day, multiple times a day. They will post misleading messages about love. They will post misleading messages about a lot of things, kind of being like the toxic positivity type of person. There are certain people who will just by the way that they talk and just how they kind of go about their channel, it's like they kind of expect, maybe I shouldn't say that. They don't expect, I mean, I don't want to kind of push that narrative on anybody, but it's almost like they sort of are in this energy of desperation or in this energy of creating some sort of dependency or anxiety in their audience. And I feel like this is very wrong because I believe that divination and tapping into people's energy should not be abused. It shouldn't be used for the wrong reasons. So what I want to talk about is not so much that, but more so what I believe divination could be used for, how it's beneficial to us on our spiritual journeys, and how we should kind of treat it with respect. So one of the main points that I want to talk about here is that divination should be used to enhance your intuition. So when I was first starting out my spiritual journey, I definitely used tarot cards first, and I would start off with one card at a time, 2, 3, slowly building my way up to a spread until I was able to read the messages, until I was able to translate the energies. Because a lot of the things that, like, what people don't realize is, like, yes, you can teach someone how to use tarot, you can teach or you can learn. Hold on a second. No, I don't like that one. There we go. So you can teach people how to use tarot. You can learn like the esoteric meanings of the cards. You can learn what they're meant to symbolize, but I don't really feel like you can teach intuition. So what I realized early on in my journey is that, yes, I learned the cards, I learned their meanings, but then what I really had to dive into was tapping into my own intuition and what I was feeling from the cards. So divination, for one, you should look at it as a tool to kind of enhance your relationship to yourself. You should always start off reading for yourself. I would never recommend you guys starting off reading for someone else's energy if you've never used cards before, or if you've never used any other forms of divination and you don't know how they work, because it can get a little confusing, and then it can become, depending on how healed you are, depending on where you are in your journey, it can become a little obsessive as well. So there's many different forms of divination that you guys can use. Like tarot is obviously one of the most popular. We have dice. I know that I use these a couple times for you guys. I really love these. There's runes, bones, pendulums, astrology, coffee scrying, mirror scrying, water scrying, fire scrying. Like the possibilities are endless to find some form of tool where you can reflect your subconscious, where you can see a reflection of your inner self outside of you. And that's mainly what divination should be used for. It is a reflection of yourself. It's almost like looking at a mirror or looking at the moon, kind of pulling a mirror to the subconscious in order to see what's going on down there. Because what tarot reads, what divination reads, is the energetic frequency of you, of a place, of another person. It reads the potential. It reads what's going on at the energetic levels that are not really either spoken about or seen that obviously. So this is where it kind of can get a little bit tricky for some people, especially depending on where you are in your spiritual journey, because I'll always tell people as well, because I've had to learn this myself, that you can be a specific way on the surface. You can show yourself to the world to be a certain way. You can be connecting with someone that you think you know, but then if you tap into tarot, or if you do a reading on yourself, if you do a reading on the connection, if you do a reading on what's going on in the collective, like you're gonna find out a bunch of like hidden information. You're gonna see certain secrets or certain, I'm just gonna say hidden information that people don't really talk about. And sometimes this can have us tap into certain energies that we technically should not be tapping into, which I'm gonna get into as well. I feel like I'm all over the place with this. I really didn't know how I wanted to structure this. I just know that I wanted to talk about this subject. Yeah, so just going back to what I was saying, my main points is if you're going to get into divination, if you're drawn to divination or reading tarot, reading bones, whatever the case may be, make sure that you're doing it for yourself. Make sure that you're doing it mainly because you want to understand yourself better, not because you want to spy on people, not because you want to have an advantage over other people, which that can also be the case in some cases, because there are a lot of readers out here that are considered like karmic readers, or karmic spiritualists, because they use divination for the wrong reasons. They use it to spy on their exes. They use it to gain a footing over other people when they shouldn't be using that information. And although that can be an advantage for you in some situations where you are in danger and you are using it the right way, there are certain people that should not be using tarot. There are certain people that should not be tapping into these energies, because it can cause obsession, like I said, because it's like, for example, like a relationship, or like a twin flame journey, right? Or like a friendship, or some sort of secret that someone hasn't told you. You can use this divination tool as, well, basically a tool to see what's actually going on behind the scenes, but it needs to be done in an ethical way. So this is kind of where like the lines can get blurred between, I guess, ethics and just morals and what people think is okay, what's not okay. But yeah, I think the main thing I want you guys to kind of understand about that point is that you should never like, oh, I'm gonna get into tarot because I want to see what's going on with someone else, or I want to spy on somebody. Like, that should never be the case. It should always be like, I want to become a better person. I want to understand myself better. I want to see how I can grow as an individual. That should be the main reason that you guys are tapping into divination, or tapping into these energies, tapping into the subconscious. You can do so many different things with tarot, and that's also something that people don't really understand, that tarot can be used for many different purposes. I think that's one of my next points here. Yeah, perfect. So divination, it can connect you to other realms and realities that you otherwise wouldn't necessarily understand, I think I'll say. So when I go back to thinking about how when I first, because I've always been psychic, right? I've always been able to tap into the other side and connect to other energies, and I mentioned that to you guys in one of my last videos. And then of course there was that point in time where I had wished my gifts away because they were scary as fuck to me, because it is kind of scary to be able to talk to the dead, to be able to understand deities and to read people's minds and to read the world of energy, and it can be overwhelming, and it was for me when I was a teenager. But as I grew older, I finally started to accept my gifts, and I realized like, oh shit, like being a tarot reader, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Being a true spiritual teacher or leader or someone who helps others, it comes with a lot of responsibility, and that's something that many people don't understand. Because once you start tapping into these, once you start using these cards, once you start using other forms of divination, like you can tap into the unseen. You can do mediumship, you can talk to the dead, you can talk to entities from other realities, you can talk to angels, you can talk to demons. You can look into the Akashic records, which is like the past or the future. You can do so many different things. You can talk to aliens. And this is when people who are in it for the wrong reasons, or who are not as advanced or experienced on their spiritual path, they can tap into something that they don't understand, or they can tap into something that will actually end up affecting their mind space or hurting them or affecting their life in some way, because they don't know what the hell they just tapped into, because they don't know what they're doing. And this is where it kind of gets into just misinformed use, I will call it, I'll say, before I get into the divination abuse. Some people have really good intentions for reading tarot. Some people have great intentions, but sometimes they're just not that protected in the spiritual realm. So that's another thing I will also say. If you guys are wanting to get into tarot, or just especially tarot, that's going to be the main thing that I talk about here. But if you want to get into any form of divination, make sure that you know how to protect your energy, because that, I'm not going to say that's one mistake that I made, but I definitely delved into certain things personally on my path and my journey that I probably should have been a little bit more prepared for, or I should have taken a little bit more seriously at the time, which I do now. And I've gone through my own experiences of spiritual warfare, battling demonic entities in the spirit realm, battling attacks from, like, psychic attacks from other people. I've been through that. Like, I've been through actually a major spiritual attack for like the last 2 years of my life that I'm just now coming out of. And that experience in itself really taught me and showed me how important it is to be well informed and prepared when you're tapping into these energies, because there's so much going on up there around us that like people, like the average person, does not understand and does not see. And I feel like it should be something that's understood. Sorry guys, my ring light's slipping a little bit. Let's see, what else do I want to say about that? Where's my water? Let's see. I don't even know if it's like the right place to talk about these things, but there have been certain people in my life who I have tried to show like the world of spirituality. I had tried to show the world of divination and energy work to these people, and they have actually ended up using it against me. Or they have also gone down some sort of like spiritual psychosis as well, because they were not ready to delve into what they delved into, even though I did warn them, even though I did prepare them for what they were going to unleash, the Pandora's box they were going to open. They still did not take it seriously, or they thought it was all fun and games, and then it ended up actually affecting them as well. So I've dealt with many situations in my life like that over the past couple of years as well, and it's like you carry a responsibility for that, right? It's like I showed this person how to do this. I showed this person this world of energy, and they either use it against me or they misproperly handled it. And it's something that I've had to reflect on within myself as well. But I feel like it also comes to show that there are, again, going back to one of my main points in the beginning, like there are certain people that I now understand that should not be using these tools, because if you're already predisposed to mental health conditions, if you don't understand the world of energy, if you are not protected, if you don't know how to protect yourself, then this is not something that you should be tapping into until you know how to do that. Because this is probably going to be like, I'll probably talk about some stories down the line, but like I've been through some pretty scary shit, and thank my grandmother, thank my ancestors that I am very protected and that nothing really bad has happened to me, because I have a huge group of spiritual protectors that are watching over me. But there are some people that I know, people very close to me, friends, family, that have been through some crazy shit in the spiritual realm because they were not as protected, or they don't know what they're doing. And this is something that I've witnessed. So it's like, I feel like it's my responsibility now in some ways to step up and to kind of inform or help protect other people from tapping into things that they just shouldn't be tapping into. So when it comes to divination abuse, right? So misinformed use is a little bit different, because usually these people will have good intentions. They just don't know exactly what they're doing, or they go too far into the rabbit hole, which that's kind of like what I did in an area of my life when I first started tapping into like the underworld, the demonic energies. I think I did that when I was, not to say that I wasn't ready, but I feel like that when I first tapped into those energies, it was a time when I was not doing as well with my mental health, and I was actually in more of a lower vibrational state with my mental health, like 3-4 years ago. And so when I tapped into these energies, of course, demonic energies are very strong. They affected my life in certain ways. They definitely did. And I had to learn how to work with these energies, which now I work very well with them. We respect each other. We've learned how to work with each other, because demonic energies are very different from angelic energies. They're very different from ancestors. They're different from fairies, from any like spiritual realm out there. They come with an intensity and a weight that you need to be able to handle. So if you guys are interested in like underworld demonic energies, that is something that I would recommend that you wait for, like when you're more experienced, or like a later point down the timeline of your spiritual path, because you need to be ready for something like that. Definitely, just speaking from personal experience. But divination abuse, right? So there are certain people out there that will, like I said in the beginning, they will create dependency in their audience. They will post constantly. They will post messages in a way to keep people entertained. It's almost like a show, right? Like they create a show out of it, or like a reality TV situation out of it, where they're kind of just showing up. Some people, they will tell people what they want to hear. They will bend the truth about certain messages, but other people, they just kind of talk about the same thing over and over. And that's kind of what happens as well. So it's not always entirely the reader's fault, but some readers will read the same energies every day, every week, and like they don't understand why the energies are not changing, and then their audience is like dependent because they're like, oh well, like you said the same thing last week, and now I have to keep watching to see like what's going to happen next. And that creates dependency. It creates this energy of, I need to know what's going to happen with the situation, even though the situation has not showed me that it's changing. And definitely changes do happen on an energetic level before they happen on a physical level, because the world of energy, there's no time, there's no limit. Things can happen in the past and the future simultaneously, whereas on physical earth, the energy is very dense. So while there could be something happening in the spiritual, while there could be a reality of a situation manifesting in the spiritual realm, it has not touched down on earth yet, because so many things need to happen on earth in order for that energy to come through, right? So let's say if you got a reading that said you're going to get married next year, or let me take the time frame away from that. Let's say you got a reading that said you're going to marry the love of your life very soon. Or you got a reading that said you're going to buy a home very soon. You're going to find your dream home or something like this. And let's say in the physical realm, you are sort of not exactly aligned to that timeline, because let's say you're not doing the work, you're not saving your money, you're not doing what you need to do to align yourself to that timeline. And then you keep watching these readings where it keeps saying it's going to happen, but it doesn't happen. And that's because you're not aligned to that frequency. You're not exactly doing the work in the physical to meet the universe halfway. And the same thing will happen with relationships. Let's say you're waiting on a specific person to come in, or you want to meet a new person in your life, romantically speaking. But if you're not doing the healing work, if you are not changing your routine, like sometimes you have to change the frequency of your everyday life in order to attract certain people, places, and things. So if you're not working on yourself, if you're not doing certain habits, you're not stepping into certain habits every single day that are going to take you closer to that reality of meeting that person or being with that person. Or let's say you're looking for like the love of your life, but you're out here serial dating and playing people and tricking people and messing around with people, but yet you say that you want a relationship. Or it could be the other way around. Like let's say whatever the case may be. But it's like, if you are not aligned to the frequency of what you actually want, then it's only going to be a potential in the spirit realm, but it won't actually manifest or alchemize, because the universe needs you to meet it halfway. Like some people don't understand that component. They kind of just think that things will just randomly happen. And sometimes that is the case for certain people, for certain situations. Sometimes things do happen. Sometimes the universe is on our side. They give us a little bit of good luck. But a lot of the time we do need to meet the universe halfway. So, and that's something that certain readers will not talk about, because they like to keep their audience codependent. They like to have 1 million subscribers, and they want to keep people on their toes because they like the attention. And that's why you guys don't see me on here every single day. That's why you guys don't see me doing love readings every week, every day, because I think it creates dependency. I feel like it feeds the wrong narrative to your mind, and it makes you believe something that may or may not come true, depending on whether or not you are aligned to the frequency of what you want. So I personally, the work that I put out here on my channel is to reach the types of people that I want to reach, which are people who are healing and growing and mature, and they understand the world of energy. They understand that you don't need a tarot reading every single day to understand what's happening in your life, or to work towards something that you want to happen in your life. Which again, like, I might not have as many subscribers, or I might not have as much like clout, or like whatever the case may be. But I know that I'm authentic, and I know that I'm following my moral compass when it comes to posting on here, because I would never want to just post on my channel just to have attention, just to have people flocking to me for the wrong reasons. I want to be authentic, and I want to put out messages when I feel called to. When my spirit team tells me to, that's when I do things. I don't just pump out information that's useless. I put information out there that is going to help somebody. So that's where I stand with my channel. So some people, kind of along the lines of that dependency, they will use divination for egoic or dark purposes, which is like spying on people, having an upper hand on certain situations, inflicting like ill intentions towards other people, like sending dark energy, doing dark spell work, which kind of gets into this this point of like spiritual etiquette, which is like not spying on people without their permission, not doing readings on people without their permission, which can be hard to do sometimes, especially if you're like very close to somebody, or if you just don't understand what's going on in a situation. Personally, I will say that it's okay to do readings on certain situations just to get an idea of what's going on. I don't think that's a bad idea, but what I do feel is crossing the line is tapping into someone's like personal life too much, or a lot of the time, especially if you get more experience reading tarot or doing divination, you will start to feel when you're doing a reading and you're not supposed to tap into something, you'll get an energetic block, and that means like you should not cross that barrier, you should not cross that line. And some people will try to cross that line and they will get punished in the spiritual. Either their gifts will start to fade, or something bad will happen to them, they'll have like a dose of bad luck, or they'll lose someone in their life. Like things like this really fucking happen, because they've happened to me. Like I'm speaking from experience, which is why I'm talking about this. There are certain things that we should not be doing. We should not be tapping into other people's business without their permission. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, so I mean, I think that's pretty much it for that. There's a couple different things, of course, the dependency, using for egoic, dark purposes, spiritual etiquette. I feel like there are, especially when you're first starting off in your spiritual journey, it can be a little bit, right, it's obsessive, it's fun, it's like, oh, this is so cool. But I think you quickly realize that just depending on who you are as a person, I mean, just me, like I'm speaking from personal experience, like I realized that I had a responsibility when it came to having this channel, to doing readings, to being the person that I am, to help others, because not to toot my own horn, but I know how strong my spiritual gifts are. I know that I know things. I don't even need cards, dude. Like that's another point that I wanted to touch on. Like some readers, some spiritualists, some psychics, we don't even need cards. We just use them as a tool for confirmation, or as a tool to get some sort of like details out of a situation. But like I don't need cards. I've reached the point in my spiritual journey where I can receive downloads. I know exactly what's going on with somebody. I know what's going on with a situation. I can feel things very easily. I can read people's minds, and that's another thing that comes with it, right? Like my gifts are so strong that I've had to teach myself, and I've had to really strongly enforce a moral compass within myself, because I know, because of how strong my spiritual gifts are, that there are other people out there like me who are using their gifts for these wrong reasons. They are spying on people. They are using it for dark purposes. They are trying to get an upper hand on certain people, or they use like their hypnotic spiritual energy to entrance people, to trick people, to shapeshift, to do all these things that end up hurting people. And I realized really early on in my journey that I did not want to be one of those people. So it's a daily practice. It's something that you have to enforce within yourself. And I feel like I always believe personally that I don't know how to say this, but it's like I believe that God, the universe, will give people with the strongest gifts the most responsibility, in the sense that like we'll have a good heart. We know what to do with our heart. We know what to do with our abilities, because we're not out here using it for the wrong reasons, although there are a lot of people out there who do. There are a lot of psychics and readers out there who have become rich and famous and successful off of tricking people, taking people's money, not being authentic, not being ethical. And that really hurts my heart, because I feel that it gives a really bad reputation to the good readers, the good psychics, the good mediums who are out here doing things because they really want to help people. And it's very painful to see something that is so important to me be abused, which that's something that I don't know if I'm going to get into all of that right now, but it causes a lot of controversy within me, because I really believe, I don't know, there's just something about me, like I just have a very strong moral compass. I'm a Libra, in case you guys don't know. I have like 4 Libra placements. I'm an Aquarius moon. So I have a very strong innate sense of justice, and there's just something that is very wrong to me about taking advantage of other people with your spiritual gifts. Because if you're given these gifts, which we all have them, but some people have them more than others, some people develop them stronger because they're meant to use them in their life's purpose. I feel like it's very wrong for these people, because we already have this sort of like advantage over like the general public. We have this advantage over certain people because we can understand certain things at an energetic, esoteric level that other people might not understand. And I think it's very wrong for people to use this against others. But that's just my personal opinion. And that's just something I wanted to talk about here because, I don't know, it's just something about it that really bothers me. It really, really bothers me when people use their gifts to really hurt people. Let's see here. Divination, seeking the unknown. Oh, right. I mean, there's a couple other forms of divination as well that I really love. So another purpose of using divination, of tapping into like tarot, runes, bones, pendulum, it's to seek the unknown. So that's another reason I feel like most people will get into divination, tarot reading, because they want to know like, oh, like what's my future looking like? What's going to happen? And that is a perfectly okay reason to want to get into this. I feel like that's actually one of the most popular reasons. Excuse me. So a couple other methods of divination that I really like to use are automatic writing or automatic drawing, automatic painting. I know you guys have seen me do that a couple times. I channel a lot when I write. I channel a lot when anytime I put like my hand to paper or to some sort of medium with my hands, like I just channel, like I just get insane messages. I've just always been that way. You can even scry, like I love to scry, which is like looking at different things and determining the messages that you get from that. I love to use art for that, mirror, water, fire, smoke, whatever the case is. Some people like to use tea leaves, coffee. Any of those forms are fantastic for just really learning how to strengthen your gifts. And again, as long as you're not like spying on people or creating dependency or doing it for the wrong reasons, I feel like divination can be very helpful. It can be very confidence boosting as well when you understand your own life, when you understand yourself, when you understand what is coming towards you down the line, which kind of gets me into astrology as well. Like I know I mentioned this as well in one of my last videos, that astrology is one of my absolute favorite forms of divination. I got into astrology seriously before I did tarot, actually. So astrology is fucking great because I think I said this in my last video too, if you're a logical person, if you really like to understand like the reasons for things, if you want to see physical proof or actual tangible proof of changes or cycles in life, then astrology is a great place to start, because there's actually historical studies. There's actually many people in the past, many astrologers, many authors who have actually used astrology throughout history to trace certain historical events happening. And I've studied those myself. I think it's amazing to see how the planets really do reflect our life on planet Earth. Just how the movements in space and everything correlates to what we're experiencing here during the human experience. I think it's just mind-blowing. It never gets old for me, honestly. Like I find myself still being blown away like daily when it comes to astrology, because I just think it's great. I think it's so amazing. Like I don't even know the words to describe, but it's like it really helps explain why we go through certain cycles in our life, and it helps us understand the natural cycles of the universe, which now that I have that understanding, I don't have as much resistance. I don't have as much of a desire to control my life, which I did used to have back in the day before I was a spiritual person. I was very much like a go-getter, like very much like no rest, no play, all work, no excuses. I was very much, but at the same time, with that energy came the element of wanting to control everything in my life, which was overwhelming. It became overwhelming. And obviously when I went through like my first deep spiritual awakening, I learned that, I went through a very deep process of alchemy, very painful process of like stripping myself entirely, where I lost my entire identity. I basically almost died. I alchemized my entire existence to come back as who I really am as a spiritual being, and it's taken like 4 or 5 years to get to this point, but I have really grown from that experience. And it's like you just have this total ego death. You just strip yourself of everything that you've ever been, everything you've ever known yourself to be, and you just build yourself from the ground up. And it was it's a great experience. It's a humbling experience. It's something that I believe everyone should go through, but I know that not everyone can handle an experience like that, which looking back on it, I feel like that was definitely like my shamanic initiation into becoming this person that I'm going to be, stepping into the purpose that I'm going to be in. But aside from that, like I'm going on a tangent now, going back to astrology. I really feel like astrology is a great point to start at if you just want to understand why your life is the way that it is, why you are the way that you are, and to predict certain outcomes that are going to come into your life. Because again, you have like that concrete proof, you have evidence, you have something on paper or some sort of coordinates that really explain why certain things happen, who you are, how you can become a stronger person, how you can work through your fears, your weaknesses, how you can enhance your strengths, your strong points. So there's a lot of benefits to astrology as well. But I think I'm almost done with this. I think the main, because I didn't really have, again, like a total method or like, I don't know, structure that I wanted to go about this today. But what I really wanted to touch on was those points that I did talk about with you guys, that divination is a tool. We don't need divination. There are people out there like that you wouldn't even know are psychic or spiritual, and they are so tapped in, and they don't need cards, they don't need bones, they don't need anything. They are just connected directly to source. And I really want you guys to understand this, that when you see a tarot reader on here, when you're watching a certain channel, make sure that you feel it with your own intuition. Make sure that you see if this person resonates with you, if the messages that they are speaking resonate with you, because there are, again, like depending on where a reader is on their spiritual journey, they can sometimes project their own energies into the readings, or they can kind of put an outcome in there that they want to come into reality when it's not really the reality of what's actually happening in a situation. I hope that makes sense to you guys. I feel like it's only going to make sense if obviously you understand tarot, if you read or if you watch any other tarot readings. But really make sure that you are that you approach tarot with respect, that you approach the spiritual world with respect, that you approach readers with also an understanding. Like, you need to understand who you are, right? Because if you're just listening to someone rant, if you're listening to someone's reading and it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't resonate with your life at all, you don't understand yourself, then you're really going to have a hard time on your spiritual path. Because I really do believe that you need to understand yourself before you even get into anything else. So going back to understanding yourself, if you've reached the point of your spiritual journey where you feel like you have enough self-awareness to get into divination, I would start with tarot. Definitely. I feel like it's one of the easier forms, or astrology. I feel like it's one of the easier forms of divination to tap into, and then you can build your skill set upon that, which is what I've done as well. Let's see, any major points? I feel like I'm just rambling now, but this is something I really wanted to talk about. I don't know, just make sure that you guys really know what you're getting into. Make sure that you understand yourself. Make sure you're not jumping into something that you don't understand. Make sure that you, I don't know, I think the main thing just really comes back to self-awareness and ethics and morals, which is something that's very important to me, again, as a Libra, very important to me. Make sure that you're doing things for the right reasons. Make sure that you are being a good person out there. And again, just make sure that you understand yourself, because I think that's the main point that I want to get across here. Because if you're going to get into mediumship, deity contact, future past, you really need to have a grounded understanding of who you are, because otherwise you're going to get lost in this world. And I've seen people firsthand jump off the deep end. I've seen people firsthand experience spiritual psychosis. I've done certain like exorcisms, not like major exorcisms, but I've done like house cleansings. I've done many things for many different people at this point of my journey, because the spiritual world is very real. And I feel like there's a lot of people that come into this, again, they don't have, like, their mental health is not balanced, or they don't understand themselves, they don't have any self-awareness, and they automatically try to jump into someone else's energy, and they just end up getting messed up, they end up getting lost, and it ends up causing a lot of damage for a lot of people. So I think what I really want you guys to get from this message here is that I want you guys to be safe, and I want you guys to approach divination and the spiritual world with respect and understanding, because it's a very real thing, and people should not be messing with it. We should not be messing with spirits. We should not be messing with our tools. They're very sacred. I feel like I should have touched on that too, like cleansing your tools. Like, if you get a new deck, or if you get a new divination tool, make sure that you cleanse it. I like to use fire, smoke. You can pray over it. Depending on what it is, you can use water. Like for certain crystals, you can use water. But one of the main things I really like to use is just smoke and fire. Make sure that you put an intention over it, that you clear the energies from any previous owners if it is used, or just kind of consecrate it, put your own intention onto it to make sure that the way that you want to use it, or the energy that you intend to come out of that tool, is exactly what you get out of it. So yeah, cleansing is also very important. Cleansing your space, cleansing your tools, because again, like, the spiritual world is very real. I've had to get rid of certain energies that I personally have let in through my own mistakes. I've had to get rid of energies that people have sent towards me. There's been a lot of things that have happened in my life that I've had to really step up and take responsibility for. Again, either whether it was like my own doing or whether it was someone else, but I feel like my experiences have really brought me to the point where I feel like I should share this with you guys. So I feel like that's where I'm gonna leave it. I really hope I was able to connect to someone in this message. I hope you guys like this. Leave me any comments below if you have any stories you want to share, if you have any questions for me. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you in one of my next videos. Bye.